What prompted your organization to petition the Chief Justice of Nigeria and the National Judicial Council over the judgment delivered by Justice Peter Lifu?
So we have observed that for our democracy to actually thrive, judiciary must also play a critical role in that democracy. Therefore, deciding to strike out and deregister political parties that have not violated the law, as it were, from contesting an election automatically denies and deprives citizens the opportunity to participate politically in their democracy. And so we felt that it was high time that we petitioned the NJC such that the NJC would take deliberate disciplinary measures to erring judges or judges who make laws or decisions that would actually affect our elections and our democracy.
Speaking about your petition alleges that there were pending proceedings before the Court of Appeal and the subsisting order staying proceedings at the Federal High Court. Can you explain to our listeners why this is significant from a legal standpoint?
Right. So there is something called hierarchy of courts in the Nigerian legal system. So what that means automatically is that when there is a case pending before an appellate court, that is a higher court, every other court that is lower than that court needs to stay proceedings. They need to wait and first of all listen to what is happening, what's going to happen at the higher court. And once that happens, then the lower courts can now decide or can now be given rights to pursue the matter. So for instance, there's something called preliminary orders. There's something called locus standi. There are a lot of other preliminary objections that can happen in a civil or in a suit. And sometimes when those preliminary objections are raised, a judge can decide to strike out or to take a decision or make a ruling in that instance. And when a judge makes such rulings, if those rulings are not agreeable by parties, they can now go to superior courts to then seek an appeal. So what has happened is that in this instance, ADC, Accord Party have decided that they were going to appeal some of the orders that has been granted by the Federal High Court, before the Court of Appeal. That automatically means that the Federal High Court is supposed to stay proceedings. And it's not just as a rule in this instance. It is a fact that the Court of Appeal, in allowing for that appeal to take place, gave an enrollment order that also instructed the Federal High Court, the lower courts, to stay proceedings, clearly written in the enrollment order, which therefore means that no court of jurisdiction should entertain any of those matters at the lower level until the determination of the case that is pending at the Court of Appeal, at the appellate court. So for Justice Lifu to decide on his own to sit down and hear the matter while the Court of Appeal is supposed to sit down and hear the matter in October, is actually what people call judicial rascality, and I tend to agree with that, because you're supposed to listen to what happens at the Court of Appeal for you to now decide whether, when the case comes back to the court, to the Federal High Court, for you to now decide on the merits of the matter and then handle the case. So for us, we believe strongly that he had no right, to listen to or to attend to the matter at all until the Court of Appeal had decided what is happening. It's just like what is also happening in ADC, for example, where the David Mark-led committee, National Leadership or Committee, has gone to the Supreme Court to seek clarifications of what has happened in the Federal High Court, and including the Court of Appeal. And then you now say that a High Court of Abuja, Maitama Division can now decide to sit on that. That is very wrong and is an abuse of court processes.
I'm listening to you, and to you it's a very clear-cut situation. But is there any stretch where there could be some form of rationalization for this?
For who? On the side of who?
On the side of the other party.
No, it doesn't make sense.
There's no ambiguity whatsoever.
There is no ambiguity to this matter. It doesn't make sense. It's like saying that in the Nigerian society and tradition, that the firstborn of the house is the next after the father, right? Anything that happens to the father, the firstborn should take decisions. And then you now see the lastborn coming to say he wants to lay claim to the inheritance or whatever his father has done, has left behind, and start making decisions on behalf of the elder brother. That is not done. It doesn't make sense in any ramification. It doesn't make sense.
Beyond the legal issues, the organization has expressed concerns about the political implications of the judgment. Can you speak more on this?
Beyond the what?
Beyond the legal issues, talking about the political implications of this, of course, how the deregistration of political parties can affect Nigeria's democratic landscape.
So, like I mentioned earlier, this is going to reduce political participation in our country. It's going to ensure it's shrinking this political space, for example, which means that Nigerians no longer have too many choices. They either have the few choices that they have available to them, and or it could also reduce the level of trust in the system, because when a judge makes such decision, automatically, and people cannot see the rationale behind it in terms of jurisprudence or even in terms of equity and fairness, then it means that the democracy is failing. And this was what exactly happened in the June 12 saga. You know, in all the military interventions in the past, where a judge makes decision and then the military decides that, okay, this decision does not make sense, it's standing on his own head, and then the military decides to strike. And when that happens, citizens will then begin to support whatever military interventions that happen. And we are saying that we don't want to go back to the dark days of the military era. We want Nigeria's democracy to thrive. We want Nigeria's democracy to flourish, so that citizens will will benefit from the dividends of democracy. And if we continue like this, we are going to truncate the democracy that we have. The democracy that a lot of people have put their lives on the line. Some even died in the process. We are going to scuttle that, and we need to stop this from happening. And so the National Judicial Council needs to do what is right by investigating this matter, and if Justice Lifu is found wanting, he should be disciplined according to the Code of Ethics for judicial officers.
All right, thank you very much, Barrister Mbasike Martin Obono, for talking to us in the news this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
All right, he is Executive Director of TAP Initiative for Citizens Development.
We the people, this is real.